Hi everybody, how's it going? Today I want to take you with me on an imaginary trip. We're going to imagine together what would happen. What would you do if you had the superpower that I came up with? So of course we've seen this superpower in different situations. I don't think there's a superhero that actually does that. Maybe there is. But I came up with this when I was exploring these ideas with my best friend, Alberto. We were mountain climbing, so any sort of conversation pops up there, right? And what we realize is that thinking and pondering about this superpower and what would you do with it gave room to a lot of self-understanding of what one really wants and where one is holding back and what one should think about its own life. So the superpower consists in basically rewinding time backwards, just a few minutes or sort of, so that you could do anything, try anything, and you could immediately cancel it, reverse it, and just go back in time a few minutes before you did it. Now with the knowledge of what would have happened if you did it that way, right? So everything goes back to normal if you're fast enough, like if you're given a few minutes, maybe a few hours, whatever. The timing is not so important, how much, but the fact that you could do things as if you're writing on a file, you were editing a file, and then you did something wrong, you could just delete it or cancel it, just click undo, and then it'll be gone. All right, so to act that way and have the superpower to undo reality in a way that you gain the insight of what would happen, you would also gain the experience of doing it, if it's pleasurable or whatever, but not the consequences of actually having done that, right? So what it turned out is that thinking about that, like literally sitting down and thinking, what would I do in this or that or that situation if I had unlimited rewinds to check, right? To check what would happen, to try things that I'm afraid of, to really tell people something that I mean, but of which if I told that, I would fear the consequences, right? So just basically wanted to present that to you as an exercise of thought that can be, in my opinion, very useful, because once you really make your own mind that you have that superpower in this imaginary experiment, of course, thought experiment, you realize how many things you're not doing because you're afraid of the consequences. And it makes sense, right? Like, consequences are there, we gotta factor them in so that we don't run into huge problems afterwards. But it's great to see how many things we're actually afraid of and how we are really not being, most of the time, the people that we would like to be, right? So I always think of this, the simplest example that comes to mind is that when you like somebody, okay, I like this girl, and then I'm always thinking what would happen if I told her. So I'm torturing myself thinking it'll go very bad, or it just has a slight opportunity of turning wrong, so I won't say it. But you never know, so if you could just tell her and see what the reaction is, or if you could just smash your teacher's face and then just reverse it, or maybe do it a few times, reverse it, whatever, like what it gives you is you gain insight of what you really feel, that we are always suppressing, sometimes without thought, because it's a habit. And so we even lose contact with what we actually like and want to do. But it's a great thought experiment, and you start thinking about that, and you realize how many places you're holding back. So what we also realized is that even though we don't have that superpower, we don't always need it. And that's the big thing. how many places you're holding back on, that if you actually did it as if you had the superpower, and then it was spoiled, you failed, but then you didn't have the superpower, would it be that bad as to be worth not trying? And that's the big insight that this thought experiment gives you. What if you did it as if you had the superpower and then you didn't? Would that be that bad? Would it be as much as to say, oh, I really shouldn't have done that? What I really am saying here is that if you think in terms of this superpower and you thought you had this ability, incredible ability, and then you also immediately change to, well, I don't have it right now, you can see that maybe there are some places in your life where you're holding back and not trying, but if you did foolishly, as if you could always rewind it, and then figured out you couldn't, you may still say, hey, even though I don't have the superpower, I don't need it. What this superpower actually gives you is an insight into what you can do. And then it also gives you the habit, or it gets you into the action, the activity, the strategy of pondering and measuring the relevance of certain consequences related to them. But just as a good thought experiment, I think it's a fun and interesting way of looking into what you really want and what you really are, right? So yeah, just giving you that. I think it's a pretty specific power that it makes sense to think about sometimes. What if I could rewind this? And what if I couldn't? That is kind of the question that I want to pass on to you. So yeah, about that was the video of today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you kind of actually go and think a little bit about this and into your own life and see what you come up with. And yeah, about that, I'll see you tomorrow with another video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.